Welcome back to College Ball with Beans. And in this video, we're going to talk about FSU suing the ACC to get out of the conference, essentially to get out of a contract that they signed till 2036 that contractually holds them to the ACC. And we're also going to get into what that might mean for the ACC, what that means for Clemson, and the ripple effect that that will have across college football. First of all, Florida State. If their lawsuit, if they win, they are going to essentially leave the ACC, and it is going to start a essentially free agency because these ACC schools then will not be held to their contract. And if Florida State has to pay the buyout, that'll change things. But if they get out of the conference without paying a buyout, there's nothing stopping Miami, North Carolina, other schools, Clemson, to just walk out of the conference. Now, if that happens, Florida State and Clemson will go to the SEC. That will happen. The University of Miami is the curveball because the Big Ten wants Miami. If the Big Ten goes after Miami, does the SEC get desperate and take Miami instead of Clemson to stop the Big Ten from getting into the state of Florida? A lot of talent down there in Florida. A lot of five-star players come out of Florida. A lot of athletes come out of Florida. But if FSU loses the suit, they're going to have to pay a big buyout. Upwards of $500 million buyout. It's a lot of money. The SEC wants Florida State. The University of Florida is going to throw a temper tantrum. They're going to say no. Much like A&M did with Texas and Oklahoma. But they're going to get told the same thing A&M was told. Hush. This is best for business. This is going to make us more money. And it will. If the SEC gets Florida State and Clemson, you can guarantee it that conference is going to make more money. And the ripple effect with Miami, if Florida State and Clemson leave the ACC, what does that mean for North Carolina? If they want to blow up the ACC amicably, most of these teams are going to need a place to go. And we're going to go from a Power 5 to the Power 4 to then a Power 3. And a lot of the leftover schools, I mean, the Big 12 is not just going to take Louisville, Wake Forest. It's not going to happen. They're going to have some demands, and their demands are going to be North Carolina and Duke. North Carolina and Duke probably going to the Big 12. Sorry, Tar Heel fans. You're going to be a Big 12 team because of your basketball brand. The Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country, no question about it. North Carolina and Duke are two of the blue blood basketball programs in this country, no doubt about it. Miami probably will go to the Big Ten. I don't see the SEC getting desperate. They're not too worried about the Big Ten snagging up Miami. Miami can't even fill their own stadium, if I'm being quite honest. You turn on a Miami game on a Saturday, their stadium's not even half full. They don't even have their own stadium. So the SEC is not going to be worried about the University of Miami, I don't think. But they could get desperate, like I said earlier. State of Florida has a lot of athletes, and the SEC is not too keen on the Big Ten planting their flag in SEC territory. But do you really want to sacrifice Miami? Do you really want to just get Miami? And it's not really additive. It's more just watering it down. That'd be 3 teams in the state of Florida. Just grab Florida State and Clemson and call it a day. SEC would solidify itself again as the best conference in the country, as we already know that it is. Also, what would the ACC need to add if Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, Duke leave? If they leave, they're going to have to add teams. They're going to have to go to the American, since they've already added SMU, Cal, and Stanford. They'll still have to add a few more, which means they would add a Tulane, a Memphis, maybe even a Rice. Add those teams to the ACC, kind of spreads your footprint a little bit, and it gives SMU that natural rivalry, and also gives Cal and Stanford a little bit closer to travel. You add Tulane, natural. They're a great team right now. And like I said, Rice, not really great at football right now, but they're getting better. Rice slowly getting better, but the ACC would basically get relegated down to a group of 5 status, less. So it would still just be a power 3 with only the biggest heavy hitters from the ACC going to the power 2, and then the Big 12. And speaking of the Big 12, they sure did botch that schedule, didn't they? Only one actual rivalry game on the most important weekend of college football, rivalry weekend, which takes place over Thanksgiving. We all know it kicks off with the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Great rivalry game. But the only rivalry that the Big 12 scheduled for rivalry weekend, it's not the Holy War. It's not BYU and Utah. It's not BYU and Utah. No. It's Arizona and Arizona State. That's the only rivalry scheduled for rivalry weekend. All of the other rivalries are sprinkled out throughout the regular season. Huge botch by the Big 12 in my mind. You lose Texas and Oklahoma the following year. You could have built up a lot of these rivalries this season. Like, there's no reason why Farmageddon isn't being played on rivalry weekend. Kansas State and Iowa State should be playing every rivalry weekend. Utah and BYU is the biggest rivalry in that conference, and it's not on rivalry weekend, and that's a shame. The SEC is going to have a lot of great games this season on rivalry weekend, though, as Texas and Texas A&M make their long-anticipated return to the gridiron to face each other. I believe this will be the 120th or 119th meeting all time between the Longhorns and the Aggies, and it will be played on Kyle Field on Thanksgiving weekend. I can't wait for that game. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.